Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Awesome. It's Friday.
I know it's Friday. And listen to this. Everybody's going to know who my guest is today. Bob Vila. How cool is that?
It is cool.
I watched his TV show when I was growing up, This Old House. I watched that all the time. And I'm going to try not to nerd out and act like too excited that I get to talk to him, but I'm really excited to visit with him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of fun.
I used to watch that show all the time.
I don't know if I should tell him. Remember a couple of years ago, we had a cardboard cutout of him.
We did at the home show.
We were at a home show. We were telling people to stop by our booth, get their photo taken with Bob Vila. It was a cardboard cutout. So I don't think I'll tell him that. But we're going to talk about National Pest Management Month. That's coming up. Also, I've got a quote. I should have got a Bob Vila quote.
You should
What
have.
was I thinking? I could just have one say, "This is crown molding." That's a Bob Vila quote.
What are you working on there, Jim?
No, the quote is from Katrina Witt for this Friday. It says, "It's hard work to make 4-minute programs look effortless and elegant." End quote. That could have been a Bob Vila quote, too. All right. Coming up, we got some special things going on today. We'll tell you all about it in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Thought you'd never ask. It's Friday, April the 28th. It is Arbor Day today. Also, Biological Clock Day. Do you feel yours ticking? Because it is your biological clock. Also, Brave Hearts Day today. National Hairball Awareness Day. So if you hear your cat hacking up a hairball, they're just celebrating. That's all. Worker Memorial Day today. It is National Teach Your Children to Save Day. National Superhero Day. Undiagnosed Children's Awareness Day. Undiagnosed Children's Awareness Day. I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
it's
sure
for
it makes sense to somebody.
children that are undiagnosed with something, apparently. And World Day for Safety and Health at Work Day. Oh, and it's also towards the end of National Pest Management Month. That's the whole month. And that's why we're going to be talking to Bob Vila. Name dropping coming up later in the program. So we're going to be chatting with him about pests. So all of that on this Friday, the 28th day of April.
John and Heidi.
How much do you pay for cable or satellite? Don't forget your DVR rental fees and online movie accounts. When you add it all up, many people are paying well over $100 a month. Some pay way more. What if you could cut that down to zero? There's a device that surfs the net to find shows and programs you like with no monthly fee. Many have already cut their cable or tossed out their dish. If you have internet and a TV, you're all set. Learn more about this awesome technology that can save you money every month at channelsurfertv.com. Use promo code RADIO to save 25% at channelsurfertv.com.
John and Heidi.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Heidi, we are definitely in the wrong line of work.
Okay.
We watched a movie the other night. What was that movie called?
Iceman.
Iceman. There was a dude, he was getting paid back in the 60s and 70s, like $30,000 for what he did. He killed people for a living, but...
I would do that today.
No, you
for
would
that
not.
much.
Don't even say that. No, but this person here, they're getting $30,000. Guess what they do for a living?
Nothing.
Help name babies.
Oh, I would do that.
Yeah, they provide you the, quote, perfect name for a baby. So it says, would you spend the money on a designer crib and you get the perfect car seat and you get, the baby wipe warmer and all those little things that expectant mothers think they need. And then you just go ahead and give them some name. I mean, just any old name. Why wouldn't you go out and, spend top dollar getting the very best name?
I'll gladly name your kid. You might not want me to, but
Yeah.
I will gladly.
Well, this I think is ridiculous, quite honestly. But I'm joking about it because I think that there are people that must have too much money. Because why would you have
Why
someone
wouldn't
else
you
do
want to name
this?
your own child?
No. And you should definitely know your kid's name. You should know your child's middle name, too. We just had this conversation with somebody that I won't mention because he would disown me if I mention the fact that he doesn't know his son's middle name. Anyway, something else for the shopping list is a baby name. And they have this consultant that you can find. It says that they're mostly in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and Hong Kong, and a couple of other major cities. But these major cities are coming up with names. There is actually a Swiss branding company that charges over $29,000 to choose the, quote, perfect name, end quote, for your soon-to-be bundle of joy.
So they're charging $29,000 per person.
Yeah, that's what they charge to name one baby. I mean, I'll name 6 kids for that.
Oh my gosh, I'd name a whole year's worth of kids for
My
that.
son and I were just talking about some great names for, he was talking about, getting 2 mean little dogs, and he wants to name them Judas and Brutus. I was like, yeah, good luck to you on all that. Your dogs aren't welcome at our place.
So I wonder if they would be all upset if the name you came up with was just like Anna.
I don't know.
I mean, if you just came up with a name, just a general name, or do you have to come up with something?
Do you think they
like Typhonius? Or
do you think they pay them in
names?
advance? They have to get paid in advance.
Well, yeah.
$29,000. What was your name again? Mike. Your kid should be Mike Jr. Thank you. Check has cleared. All right. Anyway, almost $30,000 to name a kid, and you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Heidi, I got to warn you, there's a lot going on in this story from Texas. Guy in Brazoria, Texas, pulled over a car that made a suspicious U-turn. How is a U-turn suspicious? Just like the guy turned in the wrong spot, you think? Anyway, the officer noticed a 6-foot alligator riding in the back of the vehicle. And that's when the driver, William Johnson, told the trooper that he was also traveling with a water moccasin and a poisonous water snake in the car, and that it had bitten him on the hand. Johnson moved to Texas from Tennessee and was known for his love of reptiles. He was arrested for intoxication, then arrested for burglary charges after the cop found some stolen things like a hair trimmer and a game controller in the car. Earlier that evening, he knocked on the door at a trailer park and asked a gentleman to help him move a television. That's when the homeowner said, "That's not your house, and that's not your TV." So the TV was left in the front yard, and he drove away, and later they caught him with an alligator and a snake. Like I said, a lot going on in that story.
A whole lot.
That's a lot
of
to squeeze in
information.
1 minute, but we did it. And kids, that's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
A moment ago, we were talking about our brain on drugs. There was so much going on there. Not much going on in our moment of duh. As a matter of fact, I could tell you what it is, and then we could just sit here for another 30 seconds shaking our head. A federal air marshal left her gun in the airplane restroom. Okay.
Okay.
That's a moment of duh for you right there.
Yeah.
Why would she do that?
She shouldn't have taken it off to begin with.
Okay, well, she was probably utilizing the restroom and had to take it. It
And?
was like concealed somewhere and, doesn't want it to fall in the toilet. So takes it out, sits it somewhere. But if you sit it on the sink, wouldn't you be washing your hands? So you think you'd be getting it again. So where was she putting this in the restroom that she walked out and left it? And then who noticed it and said, excuse me, there's a gun in the bathroom? I don't know whose that is.
I wouldn't have turned it in. I
Oh
would
my
have taken it home.
goodness! Well, Heidi, you are just a devious,
I
naughty
would've.
person. First of all, in the program, you said that you would kill people for money.
Yeah,
and now
kill
you said
people
you
with
will
the air
still-
marshal's gun. They'd
Now
never
you
be able
said
to
you will
pin it
still-
on me.
No, I hope everybody knows this is just Heidi's radio persona. In real life, she's really nice. No, really, she is. Really. Coming up, if you buy that, I've got some land to sell you. It's out in the middle of the Atlantic. Anyway, coming up, we've got your scoop of the day. That is on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. A cat in London was recently put on a drug similar to Prozac because, and I quote, the cat was depressed and gaining weight, end quote.
Oh my gosh.
What? So a fat cat in London got put on. Here's the good news. At least it happened in London.
A cat is only going to gain weight if you're giving it food.
And I'm just glad that didn't happen in the United States because we got enough dumb things going on here. London, you deserve that one. Recent report says there are
man.
currently 1.5 billion cell phones in the world. That's a lot of cell phones.
It is a lot of cell phones.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed is hard to find these days? A payphone. I mean, you
But
very
you know
rarely.
what? We saw one. Where were we?
You very rarely see them, and every once in a while I do see one, and I'm like, kids, see that over there? That's a payphone. They are getting very hard to find. A United Airlines flight had to make an emergency landing after one of their engines overheated. So,
Yikes.
No, that's the same company that just recently dragged a dude off the plane, right?
Which one? United?
United is
Yeah.
who this was. So I wonder if maybe the reason that engine overheated is because they ran out of room inside, so they started packing passengers on the wing. You think? No? I actually saw somebody had a post on Facebook. It was funny. It was from like the day after that first United story, and they had a picture of an airplane with some straps going around it and a man strapped to the roof. And it was a fake story. It said United ran out of room on the next flight and strapped a man to the roof. It looked funny because it looked real, but I'm sure it was photoshopped. I hope it was. Doctors recommend 8 solid hours of sleep every night, Heidi, but workers are not getting it. The lack of sleep is leaving employees less productive, unmotivated, and more agitated with co-workers, Heidi. Who's to blame? Well, work, they say. A survey on sleep and the U.S. workplace from the Career Builder says, and I guess it was conducted by Harris Poll, 58% of the 32,000 people surveyed said they weren't getting enough sleep, and 61% said they're sleep deprived because of their work. For some vicious cycle, 44% of workers said that just thinking about work kept them up at night, and then the next day, they struggle at work because they're tired. So it's this vicious cycle. It just keeps going and going and going. Now, we had a story from China already once today, didn't we? Did we have a story from China?
I don't think
thinking
so.
we did.
I don't know. Maybe
Oh,
we did.
no. That must have been the other day. So this story is from China, though. So apparently it's our first story from China today. But a woman in China is complaining of back pain, and she was shocked when they discovered a needle had been lodged in her liver for 23 years.
Ooh.
A scan revealed that there was a needle stuck in her liver. It was about 2 inches long and had broken in 2 parts, so it was poking in her liver, and they looked back to figure out where did this come from, and it was from a surgery that she had gotten 23 years ago. That is just crazy. And for those of you who are big fans of Indiana Jones, the 5th film of the series is not going to be coming out for a little while now. They put it on hold, but it's going to happen in 2020. Harrison Ford will return in the title role. Steven Spielberg also returns to direct the movie. It has been pushed back from previous announcements of 2019, so they're saying 1 more year. Now, if they wait too much longer, Harrison Ford is going to have to roll through that movie in a wheelchair. I love Harrison Ford. I really do. He is like one of my favorite actors, but he's getting up there in years. And the first 3 Indiana Jones movies were awesome, and then number 4 was like, what the heck was that? We just talked about that with our son the other day. He was agreeing as well. And if you're a fan of Princess Bride, Heidi, are you a fan of the Princess Bride?
I am. Yeah.
Well, if that changed your vocabulary for the better, there's a new Princess Bride Squabble.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a new game. It's actually Scrabble, but the word phrases from the movie come together like two love. And I've got a link on the page if you want to see that. And it's
Here's
just
the
a bunch
thing
of
that
silliness.
would suck about that is because you could spell a lot of those words any way you want to.
That's the whole point. I could actually win at Scrabble, so I think we should get this.
I do know somebody who would absolutely love that game.
I do too. I know a couple of somebodies. If you'd like to know more, I've got a link to that on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Imagine the sand between your toes and an ice-cold drink in your hand. Join us this November for 80s in the Sand.
Week-long event with 80s music from over a dozen awesome bands.
Plus, meet 80s icons from the movies like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
The website is 80sinthesand.com.
Book your week-long 80s vacation right now at 80sinthesand.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us today, and I'm really excited to visit with him. I guarantee you're going to know the name, and if you don't, you need to figure out what the heck's going on in your life. You got to get out from under a rock. I have Bob Vila on the line. It's like the name in home improvement. Bob, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Very good. We're excited to visit with you today. We're going to talk about how to keep our home safe from pests. And this is a good time of year to do it because April is National Pest Management Month, and you're going to tell us a little bit about things we can do. What are some of the things we can do to keep our home safe from pests?
Well, you don't want to manage them. You want to get rid of them. And so this is the time of year when you want to take a good look at what's happening around your house, and you want to be concerned about ants and ticks and termites and mosquitoes. And, some of the best things that you can do is to cut off their access, seal any cracks and holes around the house, around the foundation, entry points like where the utilities or the pipes might come into the house. Check what the condition is for the weather stripping, any loose mortar, all these different areas that can provide access for the little beasts to come in.
Now, there's a lot of concern over, some of these diseases that are transmitted through pests, things like West Nile and Zika and all of those things. How can we limit our exposure to these little biting pests this summer in our backyards?
Well, yeah, all of these viruses that are spread by mosquitoes are very worrisome right now, especially for young families that are still in the childbearing age. And so, the key things are to prevent bites, and you want to wear long sleeves, and you want to wear trousers, and you want to use an insect repellent that's at least a 20% DEET. But preventing breeding of the mosquito that carries it is the other thing that you can do. And the best thing is to make sure that you don't have a lot of moisture or standing water in the area. And it doesn't need to be a big puddle for mosquitoes to lay their eggs. It can be something as small as a bottle cap that's got a drop of water in it. So just keeping the yard clean and free of any standing water. And I'm afraid that includes things like, little kiddie pools and bird baths. You don't have to forego them, but you just have to manage them. I mean, I keep a bird bath in the summer, but it's one of those things where you just change the water every day. Just go up there with a hose and clean it out. So it's all common sense stuff, but being aware of it is what's important.
And that's the thing I would have never thought of is to, make sure that you clean out that bird bath every day and have fresh water, because it's fresh water is not the problem. It's when it sits there for a long time, I suppose.
Exactly.
So is there one pest that causes more damage when it comes to our home than other pests? Is there one that's kind of the granddaddy of all of them?
Oh, yeah. No, the termite issue is the biggest one, and this is the time of year when you want to take a close look to make sure that you're not being eaten alive by termites. It's one thing if you see them swarming somewhere around a tree or whatever, but look for them in the house where they're doing the most damage, and they're hidden away because they're eating at the studs or they're eating at the baseboards or the window trim. And one tip-off would be if you find little piles of what looks like sawdust on a corner or in the floor someplace. It's not sawdust, it's the termite excrement. And what they do when their little channels are getting full of their excrement, they just poke a hole through the paint and just shovel it out. So if you see something like that when you're vacuuming, that is a tip-off that you have active termites.
Again, visiting right now with Bob Vila. He is like the name in home improvement. We're excited to have him on the program. And April is a month it's kind of an important month. It's, it's springtime and it's National Pest Management Month. And like Bob was saying, you don't want to manage those pests. You want to get rid of them. Are there some specific areas in the home where pests can become like the biggest problems as you've been working on projects? Are there specific areas that maybe are kind of the hot spots for these little guys?
Sure. I mean, they all need moisture. So it's important to take a close look at the house, the foundation of the house. If you have crawl space or a basement, go in there and look to make sure that things are properly ventilated, clean, and dry. It isn't just termites. You can have other pests like carpenter ants, for example, or there's even carpenter bees out there that are eating away at the wood of the house. And so cleanliness and keeping things dry are the two key things to think about.
What's one thing I should look at doing this spring to maybe spruce up my home and not only make it look good, but keep it safe from these little bugs?
Sure. Well, I always say after you've cleaned the windows and made sure that all the screens are in good repair, a little fresh paint on the front door goes a long way to saying hello to your friends.
Absolutely. It does. And I notice some people are using some pretty wild colors these days for that front door.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's become very popular to kind of change colors from one year to the next, but make sure you're choosing a color that's appropriate for your house.
Again, Bob Vila is joining us today. So, Bob, if people listening maybe would like to get some more information on how to keep these pests out and how to manage, or maybe not manage, but get rid of these little buggers during National Pest Month, is there a place online where they can go to get some more info?
Yeah, get on your computer and come to pestworld.org, your partner in pest prevention. You can get lots of information there about what we've been talking about, and also find professionals in your area that can help you.
Pestworld.org. All right, very good. Bob, thank you again for taking the time to visit with us, sir.
You bet, my pleasure.
Again, Bob Vila, and I grew up watching that guy on television, and the name and home improvement right there. It's really fun to chat with him on the John and Heidi Show. If you'd like to know more about the pest problems and maybe some folks that can help you solve them, pestworld.org is the website for that, and we'll have a link to that on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
It's almost graduation time. If you have a son or daughter finishing high school, you need to hear this. They can go to college without racking up a pile of student loans. Matthew Einstein did. He saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then he built a system to show you how to do it too. Learn how you can use this system for your kids or for yourself. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. Use promo code RADIO20 to save 20% at freeeducationuniversity.com. That's freeeducationuniversity.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
President John Tyler had quite a few children. Guess how many?
12.
15.
Ooh,
yeah.
that's close.
Yeah, John Tyler, 15 kids. He was also known as his accidency, but it had nothing to do with accidental children. He was the first president to be sworn in after a president died in office.
Oh.
So he hadn't been elected. He was busy doing something else. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
You inhale about 700,000 of your own skin flakes each and every day. Oh. I'm going to wear one of those little Michael Jackson masks from now on. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Aluminum can be spun into a filament so fine that 1.5 pounds of aluminum could circle the entire Earth. That's how fine they can extract that. That's pretty fine. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In ancient Greece, tossing an apple to a girl was a traditional proposal of marriage, and if she caught it, that meant she accepted. So, if you really like a girl, just chuck an apple at her head.
Or if you don't like her, chuck an apple at her head, because she's not going to try and catch it, and it'll hit her in the head.
The whole thing's a bad idea. And this is going to do it for your fun facts on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
Are you tired of the same old 9-to-5 rat race? Sick of not controlling your financial destiny? We partner with a leading health company whose mission is to support you to build a home-based business and help others be healthier, drop excess pounds, and live longer, more rewarding lives. Best of all, everyone who joins after you is placed on your team. No bugging family or friends. Call 866-741-7242 for more information. Or if you'd like, text the word income to the same number, 866-741-7242. 866-741-7242.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We're big fans of movies in our household. We watch a lot of movies, and I got some fun little things here about movies. Like, did you know Molly Ringwald turned down a role that we all know somebody else for? She was supposed to be Pretty Woman. She was going to be the one instead of Julia Roberts.
Oh, really?
Can you imagine Molly Ringwald in that role?
You'd think they'd find a pretty woman for Pretty Woman. I don't think either
think they're
one
both
of them
adorable.
are.
See, I've always liked both of them. Ugh. Speaking of Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock lost out to Julia for Runaway Bride. Sandra Bullock was originally going to be the person doing that. There's a new version of Willy Wonka played by Johnny Depp, but you know that Robert De Niro was considered for the original, and so was Jim Carrey and John Cleese. So they were all originally, instead of Johnny Depp, they were all for the remake.
I could see Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Johnny Depp lost the role of Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider to Nicolas Cage, the role of Mr. Smith to Brad Pitt, and the role of Jack in Titanic. So Johnny Depp was up for all of those. While auditioning for Willy Wonka, Robert De Niro was also considered for the role of Sal in Do the Right Thing and the role Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. Can you imagine Robert De Niro?
Oh, no.
Jim Carrey did not get the part of Willy Wonka, nor did he get the part of Howard Hughes in The Aviator, which he was trying to get.
I could have seen that as well.
Leo DiCaprio got that instead. Another Willy Wonka wannabe, Brad Pitt, and the part of Jason Bourne went to Matt Damon, and that was another one that Brad Pitt was trying out for. And when they put the Bourne identity together, it was written with Brad Pitt in mind. And he said no.
Brad wanted to be Willy Wonka?
There's
no way I could see that.
Well, he was one that was on the list. I think maybe they wanted him, but okay. I don't know. So Alec Baldwin turned down several roles, including Batman in 2 of the Batman movies. Back then, he could have done it.
He turned it down?
He turned it down. Michael Keaton was the one that said yes when Alec Baldwin said no.
Oh, Michael
He's still
Keaton
my favorite.
Is the only Batman as far as I know.
He also, Alec Baldwin turned down the role of Sam in the movie Ghost. So there you go. Harrison Ford was also considered for the role of Sam in Ghost. So there you go. Couple of
goodness.
interesting people
that is
who
funny. Those would have been completely
Oh,
different
they absolutely
movies.
would have. We got a whole long list of these, so we'll come back to more of these coming up in just a bit. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
How much do you pay for cable or satellite? Don't forget your DVR rental fees and online movie accounts. When you add it all up, many people are paying well over $100 a month. Some pay way more. What if you could cut that down to zero? There's a device that surfs the net to find shows and programs you like with no monthly fee. Many have already cut their cable or tossed out their dish. If you have internet and a TV, you're all set. Learn more about this awesome technology that can save you money every month at channelsurfertv.com. Use promo code RADIO to save 25% at channelsurfertv.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've been chatting about some of these roles where people were considered for movies and then somebody else ended up getting them. Like Ashton Kutcher turned down the role of Batman in Batman Begins and the role of Superman in Superman Returns. Could you see Ashton Kutcher as Batman or Superman?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
Speaking of superheroes, Paul Newman tested for the role of Superman, which Christopher Reeve got. He also was considered for the role of James Bond, so I can't imagine Paul Newman as either of those.
No, me either.
And he lost the role of Dirty Harry to Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, no.
Paul Newman was up for those. Clint Eastwood, by the way, was considered to play the part of Rambo in First Blood. That would have been a completely different movie. Go ahead, make my day. Keanu Reeves was also up for Wolverine. He turned it down. And he turned down the role of Charles Babbitt in Rain Man and something Angorn in Lord of the Rings. I don't know who that is. So Keanu Reeves could have been all of those roles. Courtney Cox auditioned for the role of Princess Buttercup in The Princess Bride as well. And our final one on the list here, Mel Gibson auditioned to play Mozart in Amadeus, lost the part to somebody else, Tom Hulse, and then lost out to Robin Williams in The Dead Poets Society. Those were both things that Mel Gibson was trying out for. So how crazy is all of that? Couple of interesting things that all this stuff that happens behind the scenes in Hollywood we just don't typically find out about. So we have more of those. Maybe we'll read more of those some other time. But right now we got to get back to it. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Okay, ladies, if you don't like this story, don't blame me. Blame Dr. Paul Lamet. He's a French researcher who claims that through lifetimes of studies, more than 350 women have been studied, and they've concluded that women do not get smarter with age. His study concludes that women lose their ability to think clearly when they pass the age of 40. Hey, baby, how you doing? Think clearly for a moment. He says it's not senility. He says it is just the ability to make common sense decisions. So again, don't blame me. Don't kill the messenger. His name is Paul Lamet. His address is... No, I'm just kidding. I don't have that. All those women that are not thinking clearly going to beat him up. I can't even imagine putting out a paper like that saying, you know, hundreds and thousands, millions of people, because women over the age of 40, there's millions of them.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's saying, you guys are all going crazy. You think maybe he's going through a rough divorce or something?
Probably.
He's just like, I'm going to take it out on everybody. All right, coming up, we've got a thing from Women's Day. It's called Surviving the Infamous Teacher. It's on the way.
John and Heidi.
It's almost graduation time. If you have a son or daughter finishing high school, you need to hear this. They can go to college without racking up a pile of student loans. Matthew Einstone did. He saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then he built a system to show you how to do it too. Learn how you can use this system for your kids or for yourself. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. Use promo code RADIO20 to save 20% at freeeducationuniversity.com. That's freeeducationuniversity.com.
John and Heidi.
I absolutely positively agree with this. Women's Day magazine has a thing that says, did your child get the teacher this year? And they're saying that there are some teachers that make things easier and some that make things tougher. And there's some tips on what to do if you have, you know, the teacher. So like the strict teacher. Focus on what your child can gain from the teacher's approach and let your child know that, you know what, hey, just pay attention and do what they say. And this is a good lesson to learn in life because you may have a strict boss someday. So, you know, that's not a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. How about the tough grader? He says, view the experience as a life lesson. With his honor student son, when his honor student son got a teacher who never gave a grade higher than a C, Bob Nelms of Philadelphia encouraged the teen to stick it out rather than switch to another class. Difficult teachers like tough bosses are part of life, Bob said. Encourage your child to work hard no matter what the result and help them adjust their grades and grade expectations. How about the non-communicator?
Okay.
Think you'll be forewarned of a D on your child's report card? Not always. Sometimes teachers will tell you those kind of things that, hey, you need to study, you need to work on this. Other times they just sneak it in, and they're saying that's just the way it works. Crabby teachers. If you got a child that the teacher and the child's personalities just don't work together, sometimes that's going to happen. And they say the teacher, this particular case here, they asked the teacher to list some of the boy's strengths and shared them with him. So they were saying, okay, during the not the confrontation, what do they call that?
Conference.
That's the thing. During the teacher conference, they were saying, what are some things...
I think both are probably accurate, though. Confrontation.
It's time for our parent-teacher confrontation, especially if it's a crabby teacher. But they're saying, let's talk about some positives right now. So that's what that adult did with their child. And then finally, the confusing teacher. If you got a teacher that doesn't really explain things very well, ask for individual help. If your child is still lost in a cloud of chalk dust, encourage them to find a study buddy in the class and ask the teacher for recommendations of places where they can go to get the best material to know what they need to know. So there you go. In life, sometimes you know, it's the luck of the draw. Sometimes you get the teacher you want, and sometimes you don't. I had a teacher that I absolutely adored, one of my favorite teachers ever. At one semester, I was getting an A. The very next semester, I had a different teacher who the first day of class told me, John Small, are you related to Jason Small? And I said, yeah, he's my older brother. And this is a direct quote from him. He said, I didn't like him either. I was like, well, welcome to your class.
This is not going to end well.
It didn't go well. It was struggling to make it through. It was not good, but I hung in there. And I asked my brother, I was like, why doesn't he like you? What happened? He goes, he thinks that I knocked a tree over in his yard during homecoming. I said, why did he think that? He goes, because I knocked a tree over in his yard during homecoming. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I understand. All right, we've got some good news on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Always like to wrap things up around here with some good news, Heidi. And I got some good news here, especially for those of you who are fans of this fun little sport called bowling. Now, you've got some bowlers in your family.
I have some amazing bowlers in my family.
But are they this amazing, Heidi? Take a listen to this. Bowler rolls perfect game in under 90 seconds.
Oh, holy cow.
That's less than 2 minutes. That's a minute and a half. Now, keep in mind, this would be 12 frames in a minute and a half. It says, it is the dream of bowlers around the world to get a perfect game. At a bowling alley in Cortland, New York, Ben Catola realized that dream in 86.9 seconds. The 21-year-old ran across 10 lanes, quickly rolling balls until he reached the end of the bowling alley, and then he ran back to the beginning to get his final 2 strikes. Catola averages 225, by the way. If you want to see a video of this, and it is fascinating to watch, to prove that it was done, you can see that video on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, and you definitely got to share that with your cousin.
Could you imagine the pressure, especially on that last frame?
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh, that would be just awful.
And the thing that's interesting is, think about this. You know, when bowling, you have to have, it's like 10 in a row.
I wonder how many times he tried that, though, before he finally got. I bet he did it over and over and over and over. He's been doing it for 12 years.
Ben, we've been filming for 5 days. Okay, start over and let's act like we're doing this fresh. Hey, I just had this idea. Gonna try this.
I'm all sweaty and I'm out of breath. Don't mind me.
Anyway, it's quite the feat. And there was a fun fact that had to do with bowling. I was going to share it back with our fun facts, but I saved it here. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
A bowling pin needs to tilt only 7.5 degrees for it to fall.
Huh?
So only like this much, and then boom, it falls over.
How much?
This is 7.5.
Is
boom.
it?
Yeah, just a little tiny bit.
Just that much.
Just this much. Just a little bit. That doesn't really translate to radio well. But what does...
I'm pretty sure it's not accurate.
...is the video, if you want to see it on our Facebook page, and you can check that out. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.